Why on earth has he done this?
There is a protest that began in Ottawa, and it has been disruptive, and they have blocked roads. And there have been some unlawful activities associated with the protest. And it is the nature of protest that sometimes it is disruptive, whether that's environmental activism or social justice or, fights for access to abortion and so on. And the measures that they have taken are so extreme to say that this is a national emergency that we're very concerned, because emergency powers should not be normalized and should not be used to deal with issues that the government has the powers and the capabilities to deal with. And those are the terms of the Emergencies Act under Canadian law.
Yeah, I mean, Trudeau's been very careful to say that if these powers are used, they'll be time limited. It'll be a small number of individuals that are affected. But the point is, once you've established the principle, you can't row back from it.
Well, the principle, and again, the use of a law that allows government to supersede, to bypass the normal democratic processes. This law allows government to make orders for particular reasons, and it allows them to use the law to invoke the Emergencies Act only in very specific situations for the life safety and health of Canadians, when a provincial law is overwhelmed and they don't have the capability, or for the sovereignty, territorial integrity, and security of Canada, again, when there is no other Canadian law that can do it. And it's very questionable whether that is in fact the case, whether they have met that standard. We think it has not been met by this disruptive protest. Protest rights are really important for people to stand up for themselves. They also are not unlimited. But none of that changes the fact that the government is now coming in with this massive emergency power, and we should not get used to the governments using emergency powers. We've been through 2 years of pandemic. That was unprecedented. Governments, certainly across Canada, and I think probably all across the world, unrolled emergency orders and emergency powers, and we were concerned about that too. But here, when they're saying anybody involved in the protest could have their financial assets frozen, anybody involved in the protests could, whatever involved means, could have their information given over to the security services. So what does that mean for people who are involved in disruptive protest of all kinds? It is very concerning, and we are speaking out.
No, just a final thought. I mean, as somebody who thinks deeply about civil rights, what do you say to those people in Ottawa who will say, look, for a fortnight we've put up with this, this is gridlock, this is beginning to seriously degrade our quality of life as people who live in the capital city of Canada. The government has to do something about it. What do you say to them? I mean, I guess part of the answer is the same answer that there would be, for instance, if you've got protesters, as we had here in the UK recently, who are gluing their hands to the road and stopping some major arterial routes from having traffic flowing on them, which is that you call in the police and you stick to the process of law as it currently stands.
I think that to freeze people's assets, and what they're saying that they're going to do is freeze the assets of people, or potentially freeze the assets of people who are involved in the protests without a court order, means no democratic process, no judicial process, using these kinds of excessive measures. That's where we have concerns. We're not saying that protest rights are absolute. We're not saying the disruptive protests where people stop pipelines or climb into trees, as important as those protests might be, we're not saying that those can go on forever and that there can never be any limits. And our law allows for limits. Our constitutional law allows for limits. We're saying this power, this use of the Emergencies Act, which itself sets a very high standard, that is where we need to be worried and concerned.